Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a sharp game to share with you from round 9 of the FIDE Grand Swiss 2025. This was played September 13th on the white end, Levon Aronian playing against Andy Woodward. 15-year-old Woodward had a wonderful event, finishing with 7 out of 11. The top 2 finishers of this event qualify for the candidates tournament. Woodward finished 7th overall. I'll share the top 10 finishers of the event at the end of the video. We have here a Nimzo-Indian defense. A3 signals the Sämisch Variation. We don't see that until one move later. We're still looking at the Sämisch Variation, bishop for knight exchange, doubled c pawns, c4. A frequent target is a target in this game, a now fixed target with c5. A few more developing moves. Rook on a half open file, b6, e4, e5 held up, knight e2, staying clear of any of the white pawns, the f pawn, free to advance, knight not going to its favorite square. f4 will be a frequent contributor with this structure. All right, some pressure on a weak point. Bishop g5. This is pretty much the first key moment. Black's response is e5. Computer says question the bishop straight away. And in the case of h6, it says best is to back off, maintain the pin. Now, what I want to highlight is a move that is not available to white here. h4 is fishing pole idea. If h4 is played, you can successfully take the bishop without fear of getting killed. This queen, because of the knight on e2, is not able to quickly come out and form a battery and go after the black king. Black would be able to play knight g4 or even h7 in this position. In both cases, g5 is under fire. This is a good line for black. e5, there is g6 holding up any tricks on that h7 square. Okay, my point is that if h6 was played, this is best. Now is where it wants to go with e5, and this is where we could see f4. A couple captures, and g5. This is as far as I'm taking it. I do include the PGN in the description if you'd like to dive deeper into this position. It's wild. It's saying it's equal. Knight d5, bishop g3, castles, calling it zeros. Okay, a sharp game ahead, no doubt. How it's playing out in this one, we do not see the bishop questioned. It's e5, d5, knight a5. What is white supposed to do now with the c4 pawn? 2 attackers, 1 defender. The answer, nothing. If white tries to hang on to c4, it will fail. Queen a4, queen d7. A queen exchange will almost always favor black with these structures. This position here, no exception. The c4 pawn will still fall in the end. Black will emerge with the superior structure. So the question then is, what should white be doing in the meantime? Playing dynamically. Playing on the side of the board where white has some pressure, the king side in this case. White's continuation is with h4. Computer doesn't see this as best. I'll highlight what is best soon enough. How it plays out after h4, we have h6. The bishop goes back home. And rather than capturing on c4, Andy plays knight h5. And this holds up the idea of knight g3 one move later. Also eyes a nice forward move, that f4 square. The top move here for white is knight g3, which holds up this eventual knight h5 idea. Forget about it. Knight, queen, now eye that square. Had knight g3 been played, and then h6, bishop goes back, and this pawn is collected, I'm putting on a variation here. I'm showing you a position that is really strong positionally for white. Position right here. Black is up a pawn. Which pawn? The B pawn. But the B pawn is not felt here. It's not doing anything. There's no B5 move. It's not going to be a contributor. You have another pawn around if you really need to hold up that advance. Forget about the queen sneaking in. You could rule that out with queen c2. What's really scary for black in this position is this knight arriving on f5. I don't know how you're going to handle this as black. Knight on f5, you're asking for sacrifices on the dark squares. If this queen gets to g3, it's looking like game over. Okay, black is up a pawn in this position. Evaluation reads +1. All right. Aronian does not, in the end, play knight g3. We have first h4. h6, bishop goes back home here. If knight g3 is played one move later, so right here, the best way forward looks a little scary, but the best move here is to take the bishop and give that piece right back. Moving the knight, not a good idea. You will get mated. It says here, play g6, give the knight back. Play this position, calls it equal. Okay, how it's playing out here. Now knight g3, bishop c1, knight h5, g4, knight f4, knight for knight, and from here we see g5. The scales start to tip slightly in black's favor after g5. A top line from here is with the immediate capture on f4, meeting this double attack with queen d2, and meeting the capture on c4 with the opening up of the h-file, queen g6 here being an only move. Looks very scary for black. Calls this position equal. I was a little bit curious about one more move, taking this one move deeper. I thought, wait a second, what's happening if this bishop is preserved? What if it backs off here? What in the world is black going to do about e5 here? That looks extremely scary. There's going to soon to be an accident happening on h7. Black would be in an only move situation, would have to find here f5. What a sharp move. In the case of pawn takes pawn, check, rook recapture. You're prepared to play this one down the exchange. This is a very dangerous bishop. King still in the center here. Also, in the event of this capture on f6 en passant, it points out queen g2 is winning. Top move. For a second, when I was preparing for this video, when I was looking into this line, I was thinking, well, wait a second, can't white just castle queenside? Not quite. Rook has already made a move. So no convenient defense, no queenside castles there to secure the rook. Anyhow, certainly a sharp position or a sharp line right there after capture queen f6. In this one we have g5. Pop quiz. How would you continue here? Feel free to pause the video. All right, sharp move here, top move. We have f5. Now, why doesn't black capture on g5? Well, this move here would be concerning. Black would now be in an only move situation, would have to make sure this h4 pawn stays on the h-file. You'd have to go with g4, make sure the rook doesn't spring to life. And in the event of e5, now threatening checkmate, it says go with f5 here and be prepared to play an exchange down position. Calls it equal in the end. Any other note behind f5? Yes. In some cases now, if ever, queen h5, she can now be challenged right away with queen e8. So got an open diagonal there. White's response is to capture on h6. This is considered best. In the case of bishop captures pawn, there's pawn captures pawn targeting both bishops. Also, if pawn captures pawn, now you can much more comfortably take on g5. And if pawn takes pawn, queen captures pawn. If queen h5, that's where we see the queen h5 post immediately challenged. Queen e8 there. In this case, with check, the queens come off. Black is winning. Okay. What we have in response to f5 is the capture on h6, queen f6, and the top response here is to capture on g7. And with this move, it's calling it close to -1. Aronian's approach, he plays e5 here. This is considered a blunder. e5, move 19. Why is e5 played? The response to this is queen captures pawn with check. I believe a way to look at it is that white wants to retain the option to maybe take on g7 with the rook. Now, if Aronian had captured with the pawn, it says best would be to collect that pawn with the rook, rook f7 to g7. By playing e5, this queen has to make a decision. Well, she's targeted right now. What do? If you take on h6 with the queen, e6 would be very strong for white. Be a very dangerous pawn, passed pawn. White would be for choice there. e5 pulls the queen away from pressure on h6. King goes to f1. Bishop captures pawn. Rook g1, maybe it's the rook that wants to take on g7. Follow up now, queen e4. Top move, pretty one. Cross pin, rook, unprotected. Bishop takes bishop. Knight takes bishop. And this rook is under fire. If you play rook a1, strictly passive move. Black has many winning approaches. One of the moves it's looking at is planting a pawn on f3. All right, Aronian plays queen e2, is looking forward to stirring up some trouble on e6 should the rook be captured. The rook in this game is captured. Andy spent about 18 minutes before this decision. Andy is the 2025 Chess.com Puzzles champion, a fantastic calculator, and you could be sure he crunched the numbers really well on this. Queen e6 check, only move now for black. We have here rook f7, and there will be more than one only move in plenty of cases with this decision to take the rook. If you go somewhere else with the king, king h7, it's going to be mate in 2. King h8 is a funny line here where there's a capture on g7, capture on f8, under promoting to a knight with check, king move mate, rook captures knight, mate in 2, check, and a few different mate in 1s. All right, what does this mean? You have to meet queen e6 with rook f7, and rook captures g7 with king in the corner, king here. We have mate, so the king goes to the corner. The follow-up from here is rook captures f7. What would happen if the queen went to g6? This is another very dangerous move. With the move rook captures rook, you're setting up a mate in 2. With queen g6, there's also this mate in 1 threat. Rook captures rook is not saving. What did Andy have up his sleeve? In response to queen g6, well, he saw that he would be able to force the queens off. Very pretty line. This is what it would look like. Queen captures bishop check, followed by f3 check. And now what? Where does the king go? If king captures pawn, there's knight e5, landing a fork, queen is dead. If king g3, there's a skewer, the queens come off. If king h3, there's a check followed by a skewer, among other moves that win. And finally, in the case of king h2, there would be an only move here with queen f4 check. And eventually there will be a queen exchange occurring, this queen getting to g4, landing a fork. For instance, king h1, chop, and there's our fork, the queens are off. Something like this, black is winning up the piece. All right, how it's playing out in this game, we do not see the white queen go to g6. It is rook captures rook. And this one finishes in a very nice, forceful way. Queen captures bishop check, f3 check. If the king is going over here, yet again, there's this queen f4 move. Eventually, you can force the king. It's going to be checkmate, in fact, if king h2 in this position. Queen f4. Eventually, the queen getting here. If the king runs there, there's queen g1. That's going to be mate. So no king h2. We have king captures pawn. Follow up queen captures pawn check. A very nice move to get in. Not so much about the pawn. It's more about you're now controlling or preventing the mate threat. Cover the diagonal. Cover queen f6 to g7. King f4 from here. Black has a moment to breathe. Invite that final piece into the mix. You're setting up now. Check and checkmate. Rook g7, queen check, king g5, f4 discovered check. Queens come off, rooks come off. There go the major pieces. And after move 34, king captures pawn. White resigns. You're up the piece in the end. If this one carried out, let's say the pawns run like this, you are in time to stop it. Timely check, knight f7. Very nice game here by Andy Woodward, 15-year-old, beating Aronian with the black pieces here. Anyhow, your thoughts with this one? Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.